Hello, friends. Those of you that are still here. I do a lot of martial arts talk because it's an important part of my life and how I grew up. But now we're going to talk a little bit of science, cosmology. We're going to talk about alien civilizations and a bunch of things. The Fermi Paradox is an example of a dumb and possibly dishonest question. I'm going to say this again. The Fermi Paradox is an example of a dumb and possibly dishonest question. Let's say it the third time for the charm. The Fermi Paradox is an example of a dumb and possibly dishonest question. First of all, what is the Fermi Paradox? It's not a scientific theory. There's no testing behind it. There's a tiny smidgen of empirical evidence for it, which everybody is blowing out of proportion and saying this is such overwhelming evidence. It's not. Basically, sometime in the 1930s, scientist Enrico Fermi, pioneer of radar and radio, was having a conference with other scientists, and he was talking about how radio signals could reach other stars. Like, he thinks it's easy. I mean, to be honest with you, if you took all of the radio signals that we give out, right, and you wait, let's say 300 years, and you go to star systems 300 light years away from us, chances are you won't hear crap because there's so much noise. There's interstellar dust. It has to be pointed at you, and you have to be pointing your receiver at it. All right, but you know, the way people talk about it is, yeah, every single radio transmission, every single television transmission automatically hits every other star in the cosmos. They talk about it like that, and it's actually not like that. All right, even if we made purposely built microwave, the biggest microwave transmitters ever made, and we pointed it at, you know, a star, and let's say the star had an inhabited system, that planet is rotating. Even then, if they had radio receptors tuned into their own radio, they still might not get it. And you have to keep pointing it at them, maybe for 100 years, to even stand a chance. So Enrico Fermi, and you know, they talked about the Drake equation, which it's not quite science, okay? It's not on the level of you know, trigonometry. It's not on the level of the Pythagorean theorem. It's not like that. It's based almost completely on conjecture, okay? And it was developed at a time when we knew a lot less about the cosmos than we do now. And you know, according to them, they gave an estimate of how many intelligent technological civilizations are out there. They came up with a number. Fine. That's what speculation's all about. We have to speculate, or we don't learn things. And then, you know, they somehow concluded that even traveling, you know, less than the speed of light, the entire galaxy and most of the universe should be populated and covered in Dyson spheres and all kinds of stuff. But it's not there. So Enrico Fermi said, where is everyone? Where are they? Even that is a dishonest question, because we have barely looked at the universe, right? I was on a Facebook discussion, and one allegedly PhD level physicist said the universe is an empty box as far as life is concerned. I'm like, we've seen, you know, a tenth of the box, maybe a percentage of a tenth. Most of the universe is supposedly dark matter, which we can't even see. And there's dark energy, which we can't even measure, right? So even if the box were chock full of stuff, most of the stuff is invisible, and most of the stuff moving the stuff is invisible. But let's go beyond that. Even the stuff we're seeing is how it was in the past. And once you get past our little local cluster of stars, we're talking hundreds to thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions to billions of light years away, possibly trillions. Okay? Which means The question should be, where were they back then at the stuff that we can see of the stuff that we're looking at? Where is everybody? We can't see where everybody is right now because only some of it's close enough. It's like time lag. So you're looking at a cosmos. Everything's in time lag. Some of it's in deep, incomprehensible time lag. And we're only seeing a part of a part of a part of that which we can see. And the stuff we can see of the part that we can see is only a smaller percentage of what everything is. You know what that's like? That's like there's a little bug that crawls up my nose. And it has such a short lifespan that it lives and dies in my nose in about 5 seconds. And it concludes that there's no other life in the cosmos. Not only that, we've only been looking, we've barely looked. I mean, for ages, all we looked at was with the naked eye, and we thought the Earth was flat and there was a bowl on top of us, right? And then a little bit later, we developed glass telescopes, and that was it for, I don't know, thousands of years. And then at some point, we had observatories, but there was literally just people observing with a little telescope in their hand, or maybe a bigger one. And then radar and infrared and detectors of other radiation. We're talking, really got kind of deep in the 60s. We've only been looking for a fraction of the period in which we could look. And our lives are so brief on the cosmic scale that we wink in and out of existence as if we weren't there. If you compare us to the lifespan of a galaxy, our entire civilization, from the time we were small mammals during the time of the dinosaur to right now, is less than a blink. And for part of that blink, we were able to look. And we're still looking. The blink hasn't even completed one cycle. And we're only a fraction of that cycle, seeing only a part of what can be seen on a brief cone. And we're asking, where is everybody? When we can't even see what is. Most of what we can see is what was. So if Enrico Fermi had said, where was everybody back then? It might be a paradox. But by saying, where is everybody, when we can't see any of this in real time, is the height of a bad question. There actually are dumb questions, and it's dishonest. And I wonder if he knew that. He had to have known that because he studied physics and all this stuff, and he knew that radio waves are like light. They travel at a finite speed at a certain rate. And he had to have known that even if the entire universe right now, simultaneously, if past Alpha Centauri, right? Let's start with everything 20 light years and away, right? If the entire cosmos started blasting radio signals at us, we wouldn't know if that was happening until it finally got to us. He had to have known that question wasn't the right question. And I'm wondering if he just asked it to get more money for radar research and to increase his fame in the field. It's such a weird question. It's such an off-point, inaccurate way of asking that question. It's almost, nowadays there's a lot of political anger at each other, right? And what'll happen is, One person will say something like, here's an example. Hitler was a vegetarian, right? Hitler was a vegetarian and he was against vivisection. He was kind of into animal rights, right? And isn't that funny? It's kind of like saying you go to a restaurant and you're ordering food and they're like, we also have a vegetarian version. You know, you have these meat substitutes. Some of them taste really good, right? And I'm like, I'll get the I can't believe it's not beef thing. I'll get the, vegetarian chicken. And it's almost as if the person or persons you're hanging out with is, so you're a Nazi. You want the Jews thrown in gas chambers, don't you? Why are you a Nazi? It's like that. It is that off base. 1 billion years ago is not now. 100 million light years away is not, whatever you're seeing is not now. I don't know. I don't know how something just held as a sacred datum of information for so long has not been questioned publicly in the mainstream. I mean, they're all supposed to be way smarter than I am. And even I know that if I take a look at the night sky, I've known this for most of my life, that nothing of what I'm seeing is in real time. Right? And most of it is significantly far back in the past. I know some of these constellations are hundreds to thousands of light years away. Right? I'm not seeing what's... If I'm like, where is everybody? I should be like, where was everybody back then? Because that really changes it, doesn't it? That means that if I'm looking at a star system halfway across the galaxy, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of light years away, I have no idea what could be happening there right now. Right? I can only see what it was back then. The light that we receive and the radiation we receive from the cosmos is all delayed. We're all looking only at its past. We're looking at a portion of cosmic history. And we're all acting like we know for sure that tells us how things are right now. And when you consider how quickly life and even cultures and civilizations come into being and then just fade away or are catastrophically wiped out, that's insane. That's an insane amount of hubris and arrogance to say, well, all these distant galaxies, I don't see any Dyson spheres. Yes, I know they're billions of light years away, but, guess that tells me that there is no life in the universe right now. The Fermi Paradox is a dumb and possibly dishonest question.